The Unified Development Ordinance, or UDO, does not sound very exciting, but this set of ordinances will govern how Fayetteville will grow over the next several decades. We can all have a say in what our all-America city will look like if we participate. Here to tell us more is Karen Hilton with the City Planning Office.
But the title is actually fairly descriptive, Unified Development Ordinance. And for the most part, it brings together the subdivision standards and the zoning regulations. So both the lots and their creation or combination, and the standards that say this kind of use can go in this part of town on this zoned district, which begins to put residential in some places and appropriate commercial nearby. So altogether, Unified Development Ordinance. So it's a set of regulations. The current ordinance is over 40 years old right now. And if each of us who have 10, 20, 30 years can just think about the way work is done differently, manufacturing, the types of buildings with the technology versus all the manpower that used to be part of it. Everything has changed dramatically, even in just 40 years, 20 years. The regulations were written over 40 years ago, so they start from a premise that's very, very different from the way development is done, the way we interact and relate and choose places to live and work now. The regulations have been amended over time, but at some point you have a very disjointed, sort of disconnected piece that you're trying to keep current with regular amendments. The biggest thing, I think, is that the current regulations haven't really helped us accomplish what it is we want the community to be. What we hear from everything from the 2030 City-County Vision Plan to the City Strategic Plan, all the work that we do on corridor plans for Murchison and for Ramsey Street, small area plans, things we hear special groups and their initiatives, Fayetteville Beautiful and the Joint Appearance Commission, all those things everybody is working so hard to help Fayetteville accomplish. The development regulations aren't really helping get there. In some cases, they're actually an obstacle. The changes anticipated with the BRAC redevelopment, for instance. We anticipate a lot of people who've come from other communities and are familiar with different kinds of development types, dynamic neighborhoods and mixed-use shopping opportunities, different kinds of neighborhoods. Our development regulations don't encourage it, and it's a hard thing to require, but they certainly don't require pushing that envelope, raising the bar of standards and expectations. In some cases, they don't even offer some of the tools that are important, and this new package of regulations helps do that. I guess think of the realm that you travel in most, to and from home to shopping or home to work, the corridors that you move up and down. The development regulations guide things like certainly the building size and shape, how far back from the road it is or how close it is to the residential development behind it. It governs the kind of landscaping, whether or not open space is required. Think about the parking lots. Hopefully, in more and more of the parking lots will be moved to the side, not be such a dominant feature. Nothing but a sea of parking in front of you. And in those parking lots, there will be more planted areas. Why does that become important? It's more than looks. It helps us accomplish some of the other objectives in the community. Looking greener, a little less heat island from all the sun baking that asphalt. That heat makes the air quality worse. We're on borderline air quality attainment. It helps in so many different ways. And moving from a minimal standard to something that's it's not the 100%, it's not an Apex or a Cary or any of the Seaside. It's a modest improvement, but it is a raising the bar in that standard. Think about the neighborhood that you live in. Maybe, especially if it's a single-family neighborhood predominantly. Current regulations allow, under certain circumstances, certain sized parcels that anybody can come in and develop a multifamily project. Most of us in a single family develops a neighborhood, relatively low density standards. We look at it and we think this is single family zoning. We don't have single family zoning. And one of the things we heard was that there's Relatively little protection for the single-family neighborhoods. So the new regulations would increase that, and it would encourage the higher density development to go in different locations or come in different forms. The overall open space in new developments, landscaping along the street edges, the difference between landscaping between the street and the backyard of a subdivision, the fence line, and a landscaped edge. The host of things that essentially create our public environment. The things we see as we drive by, the places we live in, and their basic character, their basic shape, basic form, and the way they relate to each other. The overall environment that becomes part of your everyday life and that of your children is the kind of thing that the regulations actually speak to. The UDO, or the Unified Development Ordinance, is on the city's website, and right now you can go to the very front page of the city and of the city's webpage, scroll down to the bottom and look under UDO project, and it will take you to all the downloads that are available, including some simple fact sheets, what it is, why we're doing it, how to get more information, how to reach me. If you have questions, want to know what your current zoning is, how would the changes affect the current neighborhood you're in. It's a very large, very complex document, but will help point anybody who's interested in the right direction so that they can see what's of value to them.